My dad found out he was being cheated on when he saw my mom walk into a motel with another man, in the car he himself had paid for. My name is Jake, I'm 27, and I still remember the look on my dad's face that afternoon. It wasn't anger, it wasn't shock, it was emptiness, like the ground had disappeared beneath his feet. He was a simple man, calloused hands, soft heart, worked in construction since he was 17, did renovations, built homes from the ground up. He always said, "I don't have much to give you, son, but you and your mom will never go without." And he meant it, always. Life was never luxurious, but the fridge always had food, and we had a real home. Not a big house, but one filled with dignity. Then came that cursed day. My dad had been hired for an expansion job at a motel outside the city. A quick gig, just enlarging the reception and adding a few rooms in the back. He got there before noon, parked his old Silverado in a corner of the lot, and went to talk to the manager. He was jotting down measurements in his little notebook when he looked up and saw it. My mom's car, the white sedan he himself had bought 2 years earlier. She stepped out, laughing, with a younger guy beside her. Sunglasses, half-unbuttoned shirt, the kind of guy who has zero shame. My dad froze. "Babe, let me pay for the room today." "All right," he heard the guy say, laughing. She gave him a playful slap on the shoulder, like a teenager flirting, and the two of them disappeared through the side entrance. My dad stood there for a few seconds, pencil trembling in his hand. Then he climbed into the truck, sped off, and drove straight to my place. When he opened the door, I knew something had broken inside him. His eyes were red, but not from crying. It was like he'd lost the light that always lived in them. "She cheated on me, Jake. She was there, with someone else. At the motel I'm working on, for God's sake." All I could do was hug him, and that's when everything started to fall apart. The most honest and hardworking man I've ever known. Betrayed by the woman he loved most, and in such a cruel way that it still makes my blood boil just thinking about it. I grew up watching my dad carry the world on his shoulders. Literally. He'd come home with a sweaty shirt, dusty boots, hands so swollen he could barely close his fingers. But even so, he smiled, sat next to me on the couch and asked, "So, champ, did you score that goal at school today?" He was the kind of guy who cared, you know? Even tired, he was present. And my mom, well, she was present too, but in a different way. She was always more vain, more impatient, always on her phone, complaining about life, saying she deserved more. That if she'd married a real man, she'd have a house with a pool and a luxury car by now. I remember once, I must have been around 12, hearing her say on the phone to a friend, "Mark is a good man, but he has no ambition. Lives like this is all enough." This was the life he worked his ass off to give us. She never yelled or broke things. She was the type who wounds in silence, knew exactly where to touch to make someone feel small. I remember a specific day, a Sunday morning. We were having breakfast and my dad was all excited, saying he'd landed a new contract for a commercial building. He was smiling, eyes gleaming, and she, across the table, said with cold sarcasm, "Wow, how thrilling. More cement and dust in your life." He went quiet, cut his toast slowly, like he'd just swallowed a rock instead of food. And I saw it, and I felt it, and I never forgot it. My childhood was basically watching my dad trying to please someone who had given up on him years ago. I grew up in that contrast. A man doing everything he could to be enough, and a woman who never found anything good enough. And even so, he loved her, brought home flowers on Fridays, left notes on the bathroom mirror. One time, I found a little slip of paper in her car, written in his handwriting, "You are my home, M." But she never responded with the same tenderness. There was one night I'll never forget. I was around 16. I got home from school and heard them arguing quietly in the bedroom. The door was slightly open, and for a moment I stood in the hallway listening. My dad said, "I just want you to tell me if everything's okay. You don't touch me anymore, you don't talk to me, you don't smile." And she replied in a cold tone, "Maybe I'm tired of pretending this is enough for me." That hit me like a punch to the stomach. Not for me, but for him, because I knew how hard he worked to keep everything together. After that, things just got quieter. Fewer dinners together, fewer laughs, fewer everything. My dad started sleeping on the couch now and then, said it was for his back, but I knew it was to avoid hearing the silence from the other side of the bed. And even then, he still held on to her. Sometimes I'd find him in the garage, leaning on the workbench, holding an old photo of the two of them. They were young, smiling on some beach, him with messy hair, her in a flowy white dress. He'd stare at that photo like he was trying to remember where it all went wrong. or maybe trying to convince himself that something from that time still existed. One afternoon, I walked in and he didn't notice. He had the photo in his hand, whispering as if she could hear, "Where did I lose you, Jenny?" That hurt to see. Hurt in a way I couldn't explain, because it was like watching a childhood hero slowly fall apart. And the worst part was that, even seeing it all, I never had the courage to confront her. At school, my friends had stories about loving moms who packed special lunches or made signs for school events. My mom forgot my birthday. One year, I planned everything by myself. Bought my own cake with money I earned washing cars in the neighborhood. When I got home with it, hoping we could celebrate just the three of us, she glanced over and said, "You spent your money on cake? I thought you were saving for new sneakers." I didn't even reply. Cut the cake in silence with my dad beside me. He tried to smile and make a joke, but it was clear he was choking it down too. The truth is, we became 2 against 1, but never spoke about it. It was a silent pact between me and my dad, to protect each other from the coldness that had taken over our home. Even the family dog started sleeping at my dad's feet, and she hated that. That mutt is glued to you. He'll die of depression if you ever leave. It sounded like a joke, but the poison was there. My dad laughed nervously, that kind of laugh that says, "I've heard worse, but I'm still trying to keep the peace." Her words didn't come with shouting. They came sharp, calculated, cold. Once, when he came home with his hand bandaged after getting hurt at a job, she looked and said, "Congrats, another scar for your collection. Maybe you'll become a living portrait of misery." I'll never forget the silence that followed, or the way he shrank. That was her. She chipped away at him little by little, like a balloon slowly deflating without popping. And I watched it all, quiet, swallowing my anger day after day. I always admired my dad for never fighting back. Even when she provoked him, he would just lower his head and head out to the yard to fix something. He used to say that a real man never raises his voice inside the house. That respect is shown in silence. But sometimes, I could see it was killing him inside. There was one night when I went down for water and found him crying quietly in the kitchen, his head resting on his arms at the table. He didn't even notice I was there. When he saw me, he quickly wiped his face and said it was allergies. A lie. It was pain. And the worst part was that despite all of it, she kept pretending to the world that we were a happy family. At Sunday lunches with the relatives, she made sure to post pictures of the table, smiling like she was the perfect wife. "Smile, Mark. Nobody wants to see that tired face," she'd say, while forcing a better angle for the selfie. And he smiled, because he always smiled, even when he was falling apart. At church, everyone thought she was the example of an elegant, dedicated, balanced woman. And him, just another ordinary man with worn-out jeans and scuffed shoes. But I was the only one who saw what happened when the front door closed. Once, she forgot to log out of the computer, and I saw a tab open with messages exchanged with someone named Alex B. They were old messages, filled with heart emojis, phrases like, "Can't wait to see you again. He'll never give you what I do." I didn't have the courage to tell my dad. I was 17 at the time. I told myself maybe it was from the past. Maybe it had stopped. I convinced myself it was nothing. But now, looking back, everything was already there. The betrayal didn't start at the motel. It started long before, in the empty looks, the cutting remarks, the indifference. And he never wanted to see it. Maybe out of love, maybe out of fear of losing her. Maybe because he believed he could win back the woman he once knew. But that woman, she was long gone. After the day he saw my mom walking into that motel with another man, something inside my father died. He started moving slower, like his body weighed more than usual. His breathing, his gestures, everything seemed painful. He didn't yell. He didn't break anything. He didn't even fight with her. He just came home, looked her in the eyes and said with surreal calm, "I saw you, with him, walking into that place." She froze for 2 seconds, then took a deep breath and replied like she was dealing with a stubborn child, "You misunderstood. That's not what it looked like." But it was. And they both knew it. What destroyed me was how she tried to flip the situation. The next day, she came to me saying my dad was delusional. "Your dad's losing it, Jake. Working too much. Imagining things." I would never do that to him. It made me sick. She looked me in the eye and lied with complete ease, and she had the nerve to blame him. Maybe if he were more of a man, took better care of himself, I wouldn't have to look for attention elsewhere. I was shaking inside. Swallowed my rage so hard I could taste blood in the back of my throat. 2 days later, my dad packed his bags. 2 old backpacks with clothes, tools, and whatever dignity he had left. No big scene. He just sent me a message at work. "Son, I'm coming to stay with you for a while, if that's okay." I replied, "Come, this is your home." When he got to my apartment, he just laid on the couch and stayed silent for an entire hour. I sat on the floor next to him. Nothing needed to be said. The following week, she started messaging, one after another, not to apologize, but to blame him. "You abandoned the house. You didn't even try to save the marriage. If you weren't so weak, you would have won me back." She seemed to live in some alternate reality. Slowly, the masks started to fall. She started going out more, posting pictures at bars, restaurants, with captions like, "Enjoying the freedom I deserve." In one of the photos, she was with the same guy from the motel. I recognized the face. A guy with patchy beard, smug smile, flashy watch. Looked like he stepped out of a casino commercial. It didn't take long for the truth to come out. He was a gambling addict. My dad found out through someone he knew who worked at an illegal bingo hall. The guy confirmed that Alex owed money all over town and was known for skipping out on his debts. And even so, she brought this man into our old house, the house my dad built with his own hands. The same house where he renovated the kitchen, installed the cabinets, and replaced the roof with his own tools. Now a stranger was sleeping in the room where they were once happy. The day my dad found out Alex was living there was one of the few times I saw him truly lose it. He dropped the newspaper on the floor, stood up slowly from his chair, eyes watering. "So that's it. He sleeps in the bed I used to sleep in. Walks on the floors I laid down with my own hands. Eats at the table I built." I didn't know what to say. Just stood there, throat tight, overwhelmed by a rage I had nowhere to direct. That night, my dad drank 2 beers, something he rarely did, then stared at the wall in silence. He murmured things like, "I gave her everything, Jake. Everything. Worked like a mule. Took extra shifts. Gave up my days off. I traded my dreams for her comfort. And she was there, living with a man who threw money into slot machines and played online poker all night." Rumors started to spread that he had sold her car to pay off debts, a silver sedan that she used to brag about, and she let him, or pretended not to notice. 2 weeks later, the bomb dropped. He sold the house. Yes, our old house. The one in my mom's name, because my dad, at the time, thought it would be a gesture of love to list her as the sole owner. She freaked out. Sent messages crying saying she had no idea, that he forged her signature, tricked her, but I couldn't feel sorry for her, because she chose him, chose this man, this life, this lie. And even after everything, she had the audacity to show up at my door. She showed up late in the afternoon carrying a plastic bag and with her face swollen from crying. She knocked insistently, and when I opened the door, she immediately started talking. "Jake, please. I have no place to go. He left me, took the money. I have nowhere to stay." I was in shock, looking at the woman who gave me life, but also denied me so much affection, so much respect, and for a moment, I froze. She glanced inside my apartment like she expected me to invite her in, but I didn't move. I stood there, still as stone. "Can you talk to your father? Ask him to help me? I don't need much, just a little money to rent a place for now." She was desperate, yes, but she was still her. That manipulative tone still lingered under her voice, and that's when my real dilemma began, because she was my mother. But she was also the same woman who had destroyed the man who loved me the most in this world. She wouldn't stop talking, trying to justify everything and beg at the same time. "I messed up, Jake. I know I did. But you're my son. I raised you. I was blind. I was fooled. I thought he was going to change my life." My jaw was clenched. I looked at her like I was staring at a stranger. The woman at my door was just the shell of the person who had once been my mother. And honestly, even that felt long gone. "Your dad has money now, right? Everyone knows. Won the lottery, living like a king. You're in an apartment like this with a giant TV, new couch, everything top-notch. And me, sleeping on a friend's couch, ashamed of myself." That hit me hard, because she wasn't speaking with regret. She was speaking with envy. She wasn't sorry for what she did to my dad. She was sorry she lost her comfort. If he just gave me a little, I'd manage. I'd start over. I don't want anything from him. Just a chance not to end up on the street, Jake. My head was spinning. I remembered every time she humiliated my dad. Every joke, every look of contempt, every poisonous phrase said with fake innocence. "Do you think it's easy for me to come here? To bow my head like this? I'm your mother." She shouted that like the word mother was supposed to erase everything. But in my mind, Flashes of my childhood came rushing in, the forgotten birthday cake, the silence in the bedroom, the disdain disguised as sarcasm, and now she was asking for help like none of that ever happened. Like the only thing that mattered was the blood in our veins. My throat burned. I didn't know if I was angry or on the verge of crying, maybe both. She tried to touch me, grab my arm. I stepped back instinctively. Please, Jake, I'm your mother. I'm begging you. My heart was at war with my memory. I wanted to scream, punch the wall, tell her to leave and never come back. But a part of me still wished to hear something real from her, a genuine apology. But she didn't know how to apologize. She knew how to manipulate, to twist things, to play the victim, and that tore me apart inside. Update. Last night, something happened that shattered what little was left. I was getting home from work, almost 9 p.m. Light rain was falling, one of those nights that beg for silence. I walked in, tossed my backpack on the couch, and went straight to the bathroom. When I came back to the living room, there was a notification on my phone, 3 missed calls from my mom, then a message. Please pick up. It's urgent. I sighed, thought 1,000 times before calling back, but I did. She answered on the first ring, and her voice was already frantic. Jake, I'm outside your building. Please let me up. I have nowhere to go. He kicked me out. I have nothing, not even my documents. I went to the window and looked down. There she was, under an umbrella, soaking wet, with 2 plastic bags and an old hoodie I didn't even recognize. I thought about ignoring her, closing the curtain and pretending I hadn't seen anything, but something inside me, maybe humanity, maybe guilt, made me go downstairs. When I opened the building door, she rushed toward me like she was going to throw herself into my arms, but I stepped aside. You can come up, just to dry off and have something to eat, but just for tonight. She nodded, eyes red, hands trembling. We went up in silence. Upstairs, I offered her a towel, made some coffee. She sat in the corner of the couch like a punished child. When she finally started talking, the words came in a rush. He took everything, Jake, even my purse. Said I was a burden, that I ruined his life. He used me, then threw me away. I was a fool, blind. You were right. Your dad was right. I listened, quiet. Her words were full of emotion, but something in her tone still felt rehearsed. Then she said it. Your dad has so much money now. He could at least buy me a house. I'm his wife. I have rights. I froze, looked her in the eyes and asked, rights? You think you have the right to anything after what you did to him? She stood up, agitated. Don't start, Jake. I'm already at rock bottom. Do you think it's easy to beg your own son for help? I gave my life for this family. I stayed with that man for 20 years. The anger rose like fire. I slammed the table without thinking. You cheated on him. You threw away everything he gave you. Slept with another man, brought him into the house, sold the car, sold the house, and now you have the nerve to talk about rights? She went silent, then lowered her voice, tried to appeal. Jake, if you love your mother, help me. Take your dad's card. He trusts you. You could transfer a little, no one has to know. In that moment, everything clicked. She hadn't changed. Not even a bit. She didn't want forgiveness. She wanted money. She wanted to use the only link left, me, to squeeze whatever she could from the man she destroyed. And it was there, in that living room, with her still holding a damp towel and the bitter smell of coffee in the air, that something inside me broke for good. I stood there, staring at a woman using my pain as a key to unlock my father's wallet. You're asking me to steal from him. She frowned like I was being too dramatic. It's not stealing, Jake. It's just early access. You think he's gonna spend all of it? He's going to die and leave it to you anyway, right? So what's the problem in using some now to help me? My blood ran cold. The cynicism, the coldness, the twisted logic. You're talking about the man who loved you his whole life, who worked himself into the ground to give you everything, who cried in my kitchen when you destroyed him. She rolled her eyes, crossed her arms. The victim act vanished in an instant. Oh, Jake, still with the drama? He wasn't a saint, always played the martyr for you. But with me, he was a weakling, a loser. It was like getting punched in the chest. The image of my dad hunched over the workbench holding her photo flashed in my mind. The way he said her name, with love, even after everything. Get out of my house, I said, in a voice even I didn't recognize. She widened her eyes, stood up slowly, tried to approach, but I took a step back. Jake, I'm your mother. No, you're the woman who gave birth to me, and then spent a lifetime mocking the man who loved you most. You destroyed him. And now you want me to help you do it again? Never. She cried, screamed, threw herself on the floor, but not out of pain. It was all an act, a theatrical meltdown to see if I'd give in. "You're going to leave me like this? Let me sleep on the street? What kind of son are you?" A son who learned from his father to never stay silent in front of someone who stomps on others. I opened the door, pointed toward it. She looked at me with a kind of hatred I'd never seen before. Cold, dry hatred. The kind that boils when someone loses control. She grabbed her bags with rage, brushed past me with a shove. Before she left, she turned and said, "You're just like him. Weak, pathetic. You'll die alone like that fool." The door slammed shut. I stood there frozen, heart pounding in my ears. And that night, after silence returned to the room, I cried. Not for losing my mother, but for realizing I never truly had one. Update 2. I did something I never thought I'd have the courage to do. The next morning, I told my dad everything. He was on the balcony of his apartment, watering some plants he'd started to grow ever since winning the lottery. Basil, lavender, tomatoes, simple things that gave him peace. I walked over and got straight to the point. "She showed up yesterday." He kept watering, but I saw his hand tremble slightly. "She has nowhere to stay. That guy sold everything. She's crashing at a friend's house." He didn't say anything, just gently put the watering can on the floor and pulled up a chair. Sat down and gave me that look, the kind that sees through everything. "She asked for money?" I nodded. "To buy another house. And she asked me to take your card and transfer it without telling you." My dad closed his eyes for a second, took a deep breath, then looked off into the distance, like he was trying to find something far away. "And what did you say?" I said no, and I told her to leave. He nodded slowly, then let out a short laugh. No joy in it, just quiet relief. "You're stronger than I ever was." That caught me off guard. "Dad, I would have given in. I would have given her the money. I still loved her, even after everything. You did what I should have done years ago." We sat in silence for a while. Then he pulled out his phone and opened his banking app. "I'm blocking every access point, changing all the passwords, canceling the cards. I'm removing any chance of her getting close again." And he did, right in front of me. But he didn't stop there. 2 days later, he asked me to go with him to the notary's office. When we arrived, he handed me an envelope with some documents. He was changing his will. "I'm leaving everything to you, son. Every penny, every property, even the old tools in the garage. You were the only one who stayed." I tried to refuse, but he insisted. "It's not just about the money, Jake. It's symbolic. It's the line I need to draw to make it clear that this story is over." That moved me deeply, but I still didn't feel at peace. Something told me she'd try again, that she wouldn't accept being left behind. And I was right. The following week, I received a notification. She had filed a lawsuit against my dad, claiming abandonment, demanding monthly alimony, and a share of the lottery winnings, saying they were still married when he bought the ticket. When I read the court notice, my fingers went cold. The petition claimed she had suffered emotional and financial abandonment, and that she had contributed to the domestic stability for years, therefore deserved a fair share of her ex-husband's fortune. She didn't just want support. She wanted nearly half of everything. I showed the documents to my dad. He read them in silence, with the same calm as someone watching a storm through a window. When he finished, he handed them back and said, "She's going to try to ruin us financially, but she won't succeed." We hired the best lawyer in town, a straight shooter, didn't fall for lies or drama. We gathered evidence, audio recordings of her with the lover, screenshots from her social media, the house sale contract, messages where she said she didn't want that pathetic old man anymore, and all of it was used, one piece at a time. At the first hearing, she showed up all dolled up, wearing heels and a borrowed blazer. She made a sad face, cried in front of the judge, claimed she had been a devoted wife for 20 years, that she gave up her career to care for the home, and that she trusted her husband blindly. My dad didn't say a word. The truth did all the talking. The lawyer stood up, plugged in a USB drive to the court's computer, and played an audio of her telling the lover, "He's not even a man anymore, just good for paying bills." Her expression crumbled. Then came the screenshots, the bank transfers, her texts mocking my dad's simple life, the picture of her and Alex at a casino, laughing like teenagers. The judge sighed, turned slightly in his chair and said, "Ma'am, honestly, I don't see a victim here. I see an opportunist." She started screaming, literally. "He won the lottery while we were still married. I have rights. I'm the mother of his son." The judge slammed the gavel down, cut her off mid-sentence. "You forfeited those rights when you cheated, abandoned, and then tried to manipulate. You won't get a single cent." The sound of that gavel echoed like music in my ears. She stormed out of the courtroom, kicking the door, glared at me on her way out like I was the villain in the story. But I just stood there, with my dad beside me. And for the first time in many years, he stood tall. The news spread fast. Small town, gossip-hungry people. A scandal like this becomes breakfast conversation in every neighborhood group chat. Some said my dad had been too harsh, that he should have given her at least something. But most took our side, because people had seen. They always had. They just never had the guts to speak up. One of our old neighbors, Mr. Miller, came to my door with a bag of apples and said, "Your father was a giant, took everything in silence. But now he's finally at peace. Justice was served." That same week, I did something I'd kept inside for years. I went back to our old house. It was empty, literally. The new owner, and who had bought it after all the chaos with Alex, hadn't moved in yet. Gate half open, yard overgrown, paint peeling off the walls. I walked in slowly. Every corner screamed memories. The kitchen where my dad replaced the tiles. The living room where he built a bookshelf with his bare hands. The bedroom where she used to turn her back on him night after night. In the hallway, I found an old handprint on the wall. Mine, from when I was a kid. My hand covered in red paint from a school project. My dad never let my mom erase it. "Leave it. That's Jake's art." I touched that handprint like it was a portal to another time. And right there, leaning against the cold wall, I broke down. I cried for everything, for the lost innocence, for the love I never got from her, for the strength my father showed, for the life that could have been different. Then I shut the door with purpose, left the keys on the porch. On the way back, I passed the little market where my dad used to buy flowers every Friday. I walked in and bought a bouquet just like the ones he used to get. Red, big, open. When I got home, I handed it to him. "For everything you gave and never got back." He took the flowers with trembling hands. Didn't say a word, but his eyes said everything. It's been 3 months since everything ended, and for the first time in many years, my dad and I are finally breathing in peace. He moved to a house in the countryside, about 40 minutes from the city. A peaceful place, with a big porch, old wooden floors, and the scent of eucalyptus in the morning. I helped him set up everything. Every new piece of furniture, every curtain, every little detail. He gave me full freedom to decorate, but he had one requirement. I want a hammock on the porch and a vegetable garden out back, and no TV in the living room. Nowadays, he wakes up early, plants carrots and lettuce, and feeds a huge stray dog that showed up one day and never left. A shaggy mutt he named Chance. When I visit on weekends, I find him barefoot, shirt unbuttoned, reading mystery novels and drinking iced juice. The same man who once cried with his head down in my kitchen now smiles with his crow's feet deep and proud. He doesn't talk about my mom anymore, not with bitterness, not with longing, just with the calm of someone who's accepted the past like a stone that sank and settled at the bottom of the river. As for her, after the lawsuit, she tried to contact us 2 more times. An email, then a handwritten letter. She said she was remorseful, that she'd been foolish, that she didn't expect forgiveness but wanted us to know she still loved us. I didn't respond. I tucked the letters away in a drawer and never opened them again. Because sometimes, silence is the most fair response. My dad's money is still there, untouched. He lives with little, says he's learned to love the basics, that comfort only matters when it comes after the war. He donated part of it to a shelter for homeless men, said he wanted to help other marks who'd been tossed aside by life. One day, he pulled me aside and said, "Jake, you know that all of this will be yours someday, but I hope by then you've built everything on your own. Because the best part of life isn't money. It's what we carry in our hearts when we go to sleep." I had never seen him so at peace. These days, I live a few blocks from work. A simple life. Wooden table, fresh coffee, stacked books, and a couch my dad helped me pick out. Sometimes, loneliness visits, lingers in the corners of the night, as if reminding me that some wounds still heal slowly, but it doesn't hurt like it used to. I've come to understand that not all blood ties are sacred, that love shouldn't be demanded out of obligation, and that forgiveness isn't about forgetting, it's about letting go. My mother never tried to contact me again. A small part of me, deep down, sometimes wonders how she's doing, but I don't go looking for answers. Some things have to stay in the past if we want to move forward whole. My dad, he blossomed. It's beautiful to see the sparkle in his eyes when he talks about the garden, the books, the dog. He became the man he always deserved to be, free, respected, at peace. The other day, he hugged me tight, the kind of hug that squeezes the soul, and whispered in my ear, "You saved me, son, and I hope I saved you too." In that moment, everything made sense. Today, I live in peace, even without a family, because I've learned that true love is the kind we choose to nurture even after the pain.